want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Yeah, we ran out of patience. For your love with the cold hard hatred. I can feel the vibration. Feet in the streets, it's a new sensation. I wanna break faces on the pavement. I wanna make greatness look complacent. Adrenaline awakened, I can taste it. We can make an impact, grab and then take it. Like a disease, bring to their knees. No pain for their disease. Just like a weed. It is indeed that time of the week again. On the seventh day, the Lord rested because DJ Storm said, "Don't worry, big guy, I got this." If you don't know who I am, well, I think it's pretty obvious. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm the one and only DJ Storms, and I would like to welcome each and every single one of you back here to a very special edition Sunday stream. We, of course, are streaming live on 4 different platforms across 7 different accounts, and we got yet again a multitude of topics to discuss and dissect regarding this weekend in pro wrestling, specifically AEW Full Gear. As of course, you already know who I am, Mr. Controversy, and the operator of the Best Damn X, formerly known as Twitter, handle known to mankind. And this is the official rewind for AEW Full Gear, which streamed live on Bleacher Report and all local pay-per-view cable providing platforms last night from the Kia Forum in Los Angeles, California, with the 0-hour pre-show starting at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Plenty of good material came out of last night's show, and if you guys did not already get the memo before, I may sound like a broken record, but I'm going to continue to say it time and time again unless things change. Unless things change at the end of the day, when it comes down to it all, when it comes to major shows, when it comes to pay-per-views, Tony Khan is absolutely untouchable. Was it a perfect show? No, absolutely not. No show is ever perfect. Probably my favorite pay-per-view of all time is NXT TakeOver New York from 2019, 2 nights before WrestleMania 35. But even then, that wasn't a perfect show. It was as close to a perfect show as you can get, but at the end of the day, that show was far from perfect. However, when it comes down to it all, Tony Khan knows exactly what he's doing when AEW hits the pay-per-view airwaves. Whenever there's a major show, Tony Khan puts his best foot forward. He puts the top-tier talent on the shows, and we end up getting one hell of a pay-per-view when it is all said and done. And if anything, Full Gear, in my eyes, is probably AEW's best string of annual pay-per-views, because if you take a look at the debut of Full Gear versus where we are now with Full Gear, every single Full Gear show has been a banger. All hits, no misses. We may have had a lackluster Double or Nothing here or a lackluster Revolution there, but when it comes down to Full Gear, I'm sure All In is going to fall into that same category, but when it comes down to Full Gear, AEW and Tony Khan, they know exactly what they're doing, and Full Gear has easily been the best overall pay-per-view that AEW has produced throughout their 5 years of history since their debut back in 2019. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you very much to the Final Host. Thank you very much to Dylan. I'm sure we'll have a lot more people filing on in, as of course we are streaming live on the Hardcore Sports social media platforms, as well as my own social media platforms. No PWP Nation Facebook page stream today, simply because of the fact that I need some fucking freedom. I need some fucking freedom. I need to curse. I need to swear. I need to say everything under the sun that I'm not supposed to say on the airwaves, because that's what makes DJ Storms DJ Storms. And trust me, I got a lot of shit that I want to get off my chest. So people, strap in, because it is certainly going to be a rewind to remember. Obviously, we need to get through some self-brand promotion and some advertisements. So if you guys can, please make sure that you go and you follow me on social media, specifically on X and on Instagram at HistoryMakerDJS. Once again, that is at HistoryMakerDJS, both on X and Instagram. You can also add me on my personal Facebook for collaborations and business inquiries. Please send me an email. My email is, of course, StormsTakeOver@gmail.com. Please make sure that you like the official DJ Storms business page, and I may just send you an invite to join the official DJ Storms Posse group on Facebook. That is, all of those links are in the description. Please go check them out whenever you get the chance. I would like to shout out some sponsorships as well. My first sponsorship goes out to my girl, Brittany K. Shout out to her. She is a wonderful woman, big supporter of the channel, good friend of mine as well. She does beautifully crafted designs from scratch on her iPad of professional wrestlers of any and all wrestling promotions. And she also does social media, specifically X, Abbeys, and banners. So if you guys are looking for a beautiful graphic design and drawing of a professional wrestler or a new Twitter Abby and banner, she is your girl. Go and follow her on X at BrittanyK5150, and you can also follow her on Instagram at BrittanyKDesigns. Shout out to Jay Leto, of course, the creator of the PWP Nation brand. Him and I, we've been in a business partnership for a few months now, and it's only looking up from here. So we have plenty of good material coming to you guys within 2024 as well. And, of course, we will have World of Wrestling episode number 4 coming to you guys in the beginning of December. If you could believe it, it is November 19th, and November is coming to an end sooner rather than later. In 4 fucking days, it's going to be Thanksgiving. It's unbelievable. I'm wondering where the fuck these last couple of months of 2023 went. I'm wondering where 2023, 2022, and 2021 went. It's unbelievable. I've been working on my full-time accounting job for 2 fucking years. I've been doing this shit for over 6 years. I'm in a partnership with PWP Nation. My God, my life is going way too fucking quick. My life's going way too fucking quick. It is unbelievable. Obviously, go show PWP Nation some support. Go and follow the PWP Nation Facebook page. The link is in the description, as well as the link to the PWP Nation website. Of course, my final sponsorship goes out to Corporate Information Systems. Now, with more than 4 decades of experience, Corporate Information Systems is recognized by Forbes as one of America's best recruiting firms. They specialize in providing recruiting solutions to companies in a variety of industries such as high tech, food and beverage, construction, and medical devices. Now, finding the right candidates can be a time-consuming and challenging process, which is why CIS offers a wide range of services designed to make your recruitment process easier and more efficient. They provide a seamless and stress-free experience for both clients and candidates. So if you guys are looking for a trusted recruiting partner to help you fulfill your hiring needs or help enhance your career, please contact my friends over at CIS. Please go check out their website, www.cisrecruiters.com. Once again, www.cisrecruiters.com. Corporate Information System, placing talent where it can thrive. Of course, no matter where you're watching the stream from, please make sure that you hit the like button and share the stream out on all platforms of social media, whether it be Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Pinterest, Tumblr, Snapchat, TikTok, Twitch, whatever social media platforms that you may be using, because we want to get as many people in here as we possibly can. Everyone needs their dose of DJ Shizzle Dizzle. It is a known fact that I make people's lives better. I mean, I think that it's been well established. If you don't already know, now you know. I make people's lives better. So if you guys want to help make your day, your weekend, your year, your life a lot better than it already is, please make sure that you're watching me or you're sharing out the stream so that way everyone will know that I am live. It's clear as day. On top of that, please make sure if you're watching either on the Hardcore Sports YouTube channel or on the DJ Storms YouTube channel, my YouTube channel, please make sure that you hit the subscribe button. We are on the road towards 1,000 subscribers for Hardcore Sports, while we are on the road towards 2,200 subscribers for DJ Shizzle Dizzle. Please make sure you go and show some support. It is very, very vital that you subscribe if you have not already subscribed. So that way we will get as much of a reach, as much of an outreach, and as much views and likes and watch hours as possible, because we're trying to grow. I'm trying to grow. Hardcore Sports is trying to grow. It is very vital that you share out the stream and you hit that subscribe button. And when you hit that subscribe button, you got to hit that notifications bell with a huge coup de grace, because that way you're going to know whenever I pop up on YouTube. Because whenever I pop up on YouTube, oh, baby, it is the absolute best time to be on YouTube, because it is the only time that you're going to get to see this glorious sideburn chin strap combination and this beautiful mustache right here. I think y'all know what time it is. Hold on. It's in here somewhere. I just gotta go digging for it. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Take a look at that beautifully crafted magical ace black comb. Hold on. I gotta blow on it. It's so sizzlating. We're gonna light it up right here on the rewind with a little and a dash of and a whole lot of good. Oh my God. I am absolutely sizzlating, just like a hot, fresh, steaming pizza right out of the oven. I am succulent. I am tasty. And everybody wants a piece of the Storms Meister. It's been well known. Let me fix up this beautifully crafted pompadour right here. Look at that shit. It's unbelievable. I love it when I'm able to curse. I really am. And yes, according to Karen, I am hot and ready. Hot and ready, and I stay ready so I don't have to get ready, because when DJ Shizzle Dizzle hits the airwaves, everyone wants a piece of me, because I am just too damn sizzlating. Please make sure you go show me some support on YouTube as well. I got to boost up those watch hours. And ladies and gentlemen, also a couple announcements before we move on here into the festivities of the Rewind. Tuesday, my boy Hooligram, he's coming back to the channel for the rundown for WWE Survivor Series War Games 2023. It should be a fun time. That's going live on the IWC airwaves at 8:30 p.m. this Tuesday. On top of that, on Wednesday, my vlog video from ISPW's live West Milford show will also hit the airwaves, both on YouTube and on Rumble. That's right, I am on Rumble now, so please go and follow me on Rumble. The link is in the description. And on December 16th, we will be streaming live on Rumble. Rumble is entering a new era, the era of DJ Storms, and it is going to be the greatest time in Rumble history. So please make sure that you go and follow me on Rumble. Create a Rumble account. Go and follow me on Rumble, because we are looking to take over that app, just like we're taking over Twitter, just like we're taking over YouTube, just like we're taking over Facebook, just like we're taking over every possible thing across the IWC. It is extremely vital that you get as many people to support DJ Shizzle Dizzle, because I am inevitable. I am absolutely inevitable, and y'all know it. Be sure to also mark your calendars for next Sunday, because next Sunday is the Rewind for WWE Survivor Series 2023. And then in December, we got 3 more pay-per-views to dissect. We're going to predict 3 more pay-per-views. We're going to review 3 more pay-per-views. It is going to be big. It is going to be fun. So please make sure that you are along for the ride. We got some technical difficulties. Courtney, I think it may be on your end. I think it may be on your end. I think watching me on YouTube is a lot better. So I would migrate over to YouTube, and if you haven't already subscribed to me, you better subscribe to me, hun. Let me take a drink, and then we'll get into the festivities, shall we? Anyway, let's go into AEW Full Gear. One hell of a show, to say the least. We had 0 Hour. 0 Hour hit the airwaves at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and the people were still filing on in. One thing I will say, Tony Khan decided to make 0 Hour feel a little bit more important. This was probably the best 0 Hour that AEW has done all year. We had 3 matches on the 0 Hour, and they were paced very well. And this is what they need to do going forward. 3 matches paced on 0 Hour, give them 10 to 12 minutes each, and let that be the end of it. No need to overload 0 Hour. This time, around this time, Tony Khan has actually made 0 Hour feel like AEW Dark, and that doesn't even exist anymore. He just overloads the show. He puts like 4 matches on the show. They barely get 6, 7, 8 minutes, and it doesn't come off well whatsoever. Really doesn't come off well whatsoever. But this time, he actually paced 0 Hour very, very well. Same goes for the entire show. The show flew by. I don't know what the fuck people were talking about. Some people were going on and on social media saying, oh, the show is too long. Too long. I blinked, and we were already on the second to last match. The only time the show started to feel long was probably after the Texas Death Match. Up until the Texas Death Match, this show was fucking flying by. I don't know what the fuck you're watching. Unfortunately, not every fucking show is going to have 5 fucking matches. And at the end of the day, they did pace this show very well. They didn't overload it with 16, 17 matches as WWE once did for WrestleMania. So let's ease up. Let's ease up on the fact that it's too long. Calm the fuck down. 0 Hour kicked off with Eddie Kingston and Jay Lethal. This was for the Ring of Honor World Championship. We'll go over this match, and then I will give my analytical dissection on it. So Kingston obviously was in control early on with the chops to the chest. Jay then chopped him back. Jay Lethal decided to mock Eddie Kingston. He did the Jarrett strut. We then had an overhead belly-to-belly into the corner by Jay Lethal to Kingston. Kingston tried to mount the comeback. Big chops to Lethal. Exploder suplex. Machine gun chops in the corner. We had a running face wash. That got a 2. Lethal hit the Lethal combination. Lethal went up top. Kingston then dodged the elbow drop. Roll up for a 2. Lethal ended up hitting the diving elbow drop, and Kingston kicked out. Lethal was shocked. We had a backdrop driver by Eddie Kingston and a big Uranagi. Kingston then with the back fist to Sanjay Dutt, sending him into Jarrett. Kingston and Lethal hit a double lariat on each other. Both men were down. Karen Jarrett then came in. Lethal tried to make the crawl for the guitar as Karen Jarrett was distracting the referee. All of a sudden, Ortiz came in, one of Eddie Kingston's former friends. Ortiz took the guitar, hit Sanjay Dutt with it. We had a half and half suplex by Eddie Kingston on Jay Lethal. Spinning back fists, 1, 2, 3. Eddie Kingston retains the Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Championship with a little assistance from Ortiz. Not a bad match. Not a bad match. I'm not going to sit here and say that it was a terrible match. Jay Lethal's very good. Eddie Kingston's very good. Decent little 11-minute match. It was a pretty basic Jay Lethal and Eddie Kingston match. I mean, it's nothing that you wouldn't have expected from these two. But in the end, I said on the Lightning Flash update yesterday, this should have been saved for Final Battle, and I'm going to stick by that. Even though Eddie Kingston is putting the Ring of Honor and the New Japan Strong Openweight Championship on the line, even though he's putting those 2 titles on the line against every single individual that he faces in the Continental Classic, I am not going to sit here and tell you that this match was the right match to put on the pre-show for Full Gear. You had a perfect shoe-in main event with Jay Lethal and Eddie Kingston at Final Battle. Now, I'm guessing that we're probably going to get some Continental Classic matches on Ring of Honor Final Battle, which should make the show feel a little bit more important. That should make the show feel important, and I'm intrigued to see what they do as far as that relates. But I would have much rather have them kept Ring of Honor on Ring of Honor rather than taking this match and putting it on the 0 Hour for Full Gear. I understand that Tony Khan wants to make the 0 Hour feel more important. If that's the case, I respect it. But you had two matches that you could have easily put on the 0 Hour in the place of Kingston and Lethal. You could have easily put Miro and Andrade on the 0 Hour. And if you didn't want to put those two on the 0 Hour, you could have done Wheeler Yuta versus Hook for the FTW Championship. Wheeler Yuta pinned Hook on Dynamite this past Wednesday. You could have easily done either of those two matches in the place of Jay Lethal versus Eddie Kingston. Decent match, but we did not need this on the 0 Hour. This should have been saved for Final Battle. And instead of 11 minutes, they could have been given 20 minutes, 21 minutes, 22 minutes. You could have given them a little bit of an extra 10, 11 minutes to tell an even greater story, and we could have gotten a much more exciting match than what we got. It was a fine match. I'm not going to tell you that it was a bad wrestling match, but in the end, this was probably one of the most inconsequential things on the show. I understand that not many big things are going to happen on the 0 Hour pre-show, but if you're going to do a match like this, this should have been saved for Final Battle. And I'm going to stand by that. Bad decision to put this match on the pre-show. Decent match, but ultimately very forgettable. It would have been better if you put it in the main event of Final Battle and you would have given these guys 22 minutes, 23 minutes instead of 11. Claudio Castagnoli, Buddy Matthews. And now this right here, this is what I call a 0 Hour match. This was hard-hitting. It was physical. It was as good as you would have expected for the 11, 12 minutes that Claudio and Castagnoli and Buddy Matthews went. So hard-hitting right out of the gate. We had some hard uppercuts on the floor. Matthews then with a body block and a running knee to Claudio on the floor. We then had a diving Meteora by Matthews for 2. Claudio and Matthews then traded sleeper holds. We had a punt knee by Matthews, clothesline by Claudio. Both men were down. Claudio then with a barrage of uppercuts and a big boot. Matthews caught a pop-up uppercut that caught a 2. Matthews went for a diving drop kick, and Claudio caught him in the giant swing. Not as many revolutions. He went for the cover. He only got a 2. Claudio then took Matthews up top. Matthews tried to fight back. Claudio had his head trapped in the buckle, and Buddy Matthews delivered 3 super kicks to Claudio with his head trapped in the buckle. He then delivered a powerbomb for a 2. Claudio rolled through, and Buddy Matthews delivered a jackhammer. That got a 2 count. Matthews then transitioned into a crossface. Then he delivered hammer and anvil elbows to Claudio, giving him a little taste of his Blackpool Combat Club medicine. Claudio then powered up Buddy Matthews into a TKO. He then delivered a running uppercut and then locked in the sharpshooter. Matthews tried to fire himself up, but he was too far away from the ropes. Matthews ended up tapping out to Claudio, and Claudio gets the win in a very good match, easily the best match on the 0 Hour pre-show before AEW Full Gear hit the airwaves on Bleacher Report. Afterwards, Claudio went to shake Buddy Matthews' hand, and Buddy Matthews just walked away. Best match on the pre-show, like I said. These two are fantastic at what they do, and if anything, either one of these men would be great additions to the Continental Classic. Whether it's Claudio, whether it's Matthews, both of these men would be excellent additions to the field, and they would make the tournament feel that much more important. MJF and Samoa Joe versus the Guns. Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships. If anything, this was probably the weakest match on the 0 Hour. Not to say it was bad, but again, just like the first match between Kingston and Jay Lethal, it was decent, but ultimately unmemorable by the end of the show. However, we did get an angle. We did get a story going into the show. So some tensions were rising between Joe and MJF. Joe then took out the guns with a tope suicida. Crowd was behind Joe. We had a running senton on Colton. CCS Enziguri tagged MJF. The Guns then isolated MJF. MJF tried to fight back. The Guns shut him down. MJF then sent the Guns to the floor, tagged to Joe. Joe lit up the Guns. A big boot on Colton. Power slam on Austin for a 2. Joe was then going for the muscle buster. Colton then stopped MJF. MJF then hit a double DDT on the Guns. Tagged to Joe. Joe and MJF collided heads. The Guns hit the 310 to Yuma on Samoa Joe, but MJF was able to save the match. MJF was then bounced off of the steps. Joe was down, and it looked like the Guns were going to take advantage. All of a sudden, Adam Cole came out. You heard Adam Cole's theme song come out, and Adam Cole walked down the ramp on crutches. Adam Cole tried to hype up MJF, and thanks to the distraction, the Guns were completely unaware of Samoa Joe recovering. Samoa Joe then locked in the Coquina clutch on Colton Gunn, and Colton Gunn ended up tapping out. And thanks to Adam Cole, Samoa Joe and MJF win the match, and MJF keeps his end of the bargain and helps Adam Cole maintain a hold on the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships. And Samoa Joe now gets his rematch with MJF. Where might that be? Could very well be at World's End. It could very well be at World's End. We will see how it plays out. But in the end, Samoa Joe and MJF retain the titles as expected. No reason why MJF was going to be losing going into the main event against Jay White. Afterwards, this is where things got interesting. So MJF and Samoa Joe, they shook hands, and it seemed as though that was going to be it. However, the Guns then attacked MJF. Cole could do nothing about it. Cole could do absolutely nothing about it because he was on crutches. So MJF, he had his leg crushed between a chair, and it gave us a story going into the main event of the show. MJF was then taken out on a stretcher. He was then screaming for Adam Cole, Adam Cole, Adam Cole. And the last thing that you see on the 0 hour before we go into the pay-per-view is MJF said, Adam Cole, don't let them take my championship. And Adam Cole promised that MJF was still going to be champion by the end of the night. Now, they had some intrigue going into the main event. We're going to talk about if it was necessary. I'm going to give you the short answer. It wasn't necessary. We'll dissect everything in depth when we get to the main event of the show, but that angle was played out throughout the entire show. So I will give a slight amount of credit to Tony Khan for attempting to do something different rather than the stereotypical wrestling, rather than going out there and just putting on a 5-star classic. I appreciate him trying something different, giving us an angle throughout the entire pay-per-view, giving us an extra layer to the story. We're going to talk about if it really did pay off in the end, but I will give him credit for trying a little something outside of his comfort zone. So Adam Cole watched as MJF was loaded into the stretcher, and we go into the main show. AEW Full Gear kicked off with Christian Cage, Luchasaurus, and Nick Wayne versus Darby Allin, Sting, and Adam Copeland. So Christian Cage, his entrance was fantastic. They had a children's choir singing Christian Cage's theme song. Brilliant. Gotta love it. So Ric Flair came out. He was in the corner of Sting, Darby Allin, and Adam Copeland. And Ric Flair actually got physical in this match. So out came Sting, Darby Allin, and Adam Copeland. They all came out with matching face paint and matching baseball bats, which looked very, very nice, actually. The crowd in LA singing Metalingus, singing Adam Copeland's theme song. Gotta love it. So Darby Allin and Sting, they worked on Nick Wayne. We had a tag to Christian and a tag to Adam Copeland, and it looked like we were going to get Adam Copeland and Christian Cage, but in the end, Christian Cage tagged out to Luchasaurus. Pretty evenly matched early on. Out of nowhere, Darby Allin was choke slammed on the apron by Luchasaurus. Looked like he landed right on his fucking hip. Looked absolutely brutal. Darby Allin, I swear to God, is going to kill himself one of these days. So Nick Wayne then tagged in, and he was isolating Darby Allin. We had a PK by Nick Wayne. Darby tried to fight back. Him and Nick Wayne were up top. Darby Allin crawled after he delivered an avalanche code red on Nick Wayne. Christian Cage pulled down Copeland, and Sting got clobbered by Luchasaurus. Tagged to Christian. Darby finally fought back. He got free of the grasp of Christian Cage, tagged in Adam Copeland, and he tried to go right after Christian, but Christian ran off as Luchasaurus came in, and Luchasaurus and Edge went at it. Edge, a.k.a. Adam Copeland, delivered an Impaler DDT. He then speared Luchasaurus off of the apron. Adam Copeland then with a military press, and he threw Nick Wayne over the top rope onto Luchasaurus. Darby Allin then came in with a tope suicida on both men. Sting then came in with a crossbody off the apron to both men. Sting and Copeland then with an elbow drop, scorpion death drop combo on Luchasaurus. We then had a double suplex and a crossbody spot on Nick Wayne by all three men. Big clothesline to the back of Adam Copeland's neck by Luchasaurus. Ric Flair and Christian Cage then went at it. Ric Flair ended up catching a low blow. Christian Cage with a low blow. Ric Flair selling the shit out of it. In came Christian with the TNT Championship. The referee was distracted, and he accidentally hit Luchasaurus. He hit Luchasaurus. Adam Copeland tried to go after Christian Cage, and Christian Cage ran off into the crowd, never to be seen again. Luchasaurus then was on the receiving end of a spear and a coffin drop, and a 1-2-3 from Copeland later, and Adam Copeland, Darby Allin, and Christian Cage get the victory in what was a very old school, very fun, very well-paced trios match to start the show. It did exactly what it needed to do, and probably the biggest factor out of all of this, and this is what I loved about this the most, the biggest factor out of this entire match was the fact that Adam Copeland and Christian Cage did not have any interaction. There was no physical interaction. The most interaction that we got was the fact that Adam Copeland had his hand on Christian Cage's boot. Outside of that, there was no interaction whatsoever with Christian Cage and Edge throughout the match. And you know what? That is a very smart decision, because that right there, that is where the money is. The money is Adam Copeland getting his hands on Christian Cage in a match one-on-one, and we finally get the classic that we know Christian Cage and Adam Copeland can deliver. And it is going to be a great day, and I do believe it is going to happen at World's End. And this isn't going to be the last time that they face off. Don't think for 1 second that this is going to be the only time that they have a match together. This is going to continue all the way going into Revolution. I would be shocked if this ends at World's End. If we're going to get the match, it's going to be at World's End, and we are going to see Christian Cage beat Adam Copeland. That will be Adam Copeland's first loss. The money here is Adam Copeland getting his ultimate revenge on Christian Cage for saying that he's going to snap his neck, and we will indeed see Adam Copeland get his revenge on Christian Cage sometime in 2024. So after the match, Darby Allin then took the mic, hyped up the crowd, and gave Sting a standing ovation, as this was his last time that he was going to be wrestling in LA, because his retirement is coming up at AEW Revolution 2024. Fun match. Really nothing over the top, really nothing too crazy, but it didn't need to be. This was ultimately Darby Allin and Sting's revenge on Christian Cage, and then that will be the end of Darby and Sting fighting Christian Cage in the Patriarchy. Now it is going to be Adam Copeland that is going to have to go against the Patriarchy. Now, who is going to join Adam Copeland? Based on what happened in the ladder match, I would not be shocked if Adam Copeland recruits FTR to go and fight Christian Cage, Luchasaurus, and Nick Wayne. And if anything, that would probably be the best use of FTR following their loss at Full Gear. So after that, Tony Schiavone came out and he interviewed Bryce Remsburg and Bullet Club Gold, specifically Jay White. Jay White then came out and he got in Tony's face. He was going, say it. Say what you're going to say. Enough of the bullshit, pretty much he was saying. He was like, get to the good stuff. Get to what you need to get to and give me the championship. So Tony Schiavone announced that MJF is injured and he won't be able to defend the championship. Therefore, the match has been canceled, and by default, your new AEW World Champion, and then all of a sudden, out comes Adam Cole. He took the mic, and he says that there is no way in hell that Jay White is leaving the forum with Max's championship. If Max can't defend his title, then I'll do it for him. So he goes, one leg or not, tonight's main event will be Jay White versus Adam Cole. Jay White then mocked Adam Cole for having concussion issues, and he says that he is going to make sure that Adam Cole breathes with the switchblade. So at this point, I was actually very intrigued. I didn't know what was going to happen. I thought that we were going to get some sort of reveal. I thought Adam Cole was going to reveal himself as the devil. I thought that we were potentially going to get the devil revelation, whether it was Adam Cole or not. I thought that Adam Cole was potentially going to reveal that it was all a work. I thought that Adam Cole was going to reveal that this was all a work and he was going to defend the title straight up on behalf of Maxwell Jacob Friedman. Now, that didn't turn out the way that I thought it would. And in the end, it did kind of turn out to be a little silly. Kind of turned out to be a little unnecessary. And I have a theory as to why they decided to do that. And we'll talk about that when we get to the main event. But I have my theory in my mind as to why AEW decided to do this. Did it make for an exciting match? Yes, it did. And we're going to dive in depth on that later on in the stream. But after that, and after we got Adam Cole versus Jay White confirmed, I don't know what the fuck happened, but Twitter just fucking blew up. It just became a complete shitstorm, specifically on Ringside News' side of the fence. And we had Steve Carrier. I swear to God, Steve Carrier, he decided to go into a drunken fit of rage, saying that he wants his money back this and he wants his money back that. And then all of a sudden, he had to correct himself and say, yeah, we all knew it was a work. We're just shitting on AEW because this company's going to shit and all this other fucking garbage that Steve Carrier is spewing. You know, I'm not sure if you realize this, Steve, but what we got was storytelling. And it's a story that is going to play into effect going into the next pay-per-view when MJF defends the title in his home area of Long Island, New York. You see, Steve Carrier, if you weren't so busy trying to decipher whether or not your cup is filled to the brim with Jack Daniels, maybe you would understand and you would recognize a good wrestling show when you actually see one. You see, here's the difference between Ringside News and me. Me, being the individual that I am as objective and straightforward as you can get. I always praise the good and I always shit on the bad. You have built Ringside News as a fucking meme account for shitting on AEW just for engagements and likes. Let me tell you something, Steve. For Christmas, I really do hope that you put yourself in a rehabilitation program, because if you don't, your wife's going to ditch you just like your father ditched your mother. Too soon? Too soon? Too far? I don't give a fuck. Guy's a fucking know-nothing dickhead. Elon Musk already took care of one rodent in Brad Shepard. Sooner rather than later, it's going to happen to you too. Fucking piece of shit. And when it does, that day will be absolutely glorious. And I'm going to sit back and laugh at you. You are everything that is wrong with the professional wrestling community. You could not hold my jockstrap, Steve Carrier. Anyway. Moving on here, we actually had Jon Moxley and Orange Cassidy, match number 2. This was for the AEW International Championship. And if anything, I would probably say that this match was actually better than their first, which is actually quite surprising because this match actually went shorter than their first. Their first match went about 20 minutes. This match went about 13 minutes. I was actually thinking to myself that this was going to be a potential match of the night candidate, and in reality, it ended up turning out to be just a moment. It turned out to be more of a moment rather than a match of the night candidate. And that's not a bad thing. That's not a bad thing whatsoever. It turned out to be a great match, but based on everything else that happened in the show, it ended up falling a little bit on the forgettable side. And that was probably because of the fact that we had the whole incident with Jon Moxley getting injured and then Rey Fenix winning the title only for Cassidy to win it back. But regardless of that, this was a great match. Great match between Orange Cassidy and Jon Moxley. Their chemistry is brilliant together. They mesh so well together. It's almost like they were meant to wrestle. And I do believe that this feud is going to be a fight forever feud sooner rather than later. So no rest holds. No slow-paced offense. No chin locks. No arm bars. No knee bars. None of that. Hard-hitting punches right out of the gate. Orange Cassidy was then dropped on the barricade. Moxley then with a chop. He then was screaming at Cassidy, "You ain't shit." That's exactly what I should scream at Steve Carrier when I see him in public. But I probably won't because he doesn't have the balls to go to the same wrestling event that I go to. So Moxley then with a black hole slam, and then he locked in a Texas Cloverleaf on Orange Cassidy. So Moxley was controlling the pace here. Very, very strong style-esque. Cassidy then bit Moxley's forehead. Cassidy with the headbutts and then a superplex. Moxley was busted open. Cassidy then with a diving DDT and a satellite DDT. Jon Moxley kicked out at one. So the adrenaline was pumping. Crowd was going nuts. Orange Cassidy with some kicks. And then he delivered not one, not two, but 3 suicide dives to the outside. And Moxley was at the mercy of Cassidy. Back in the ring, Cassidy was hyping himself up. Jon Moxley then caught a stun dog millionaire and then hammer and anvil elbows on the ground by Moxley. Ground and pound. Moxley then with the bulldog choke. Cassidy was able to get out. Cassidy then locked in the Red Rum in tribute to his friend Hook, who was at ringside. He locked in the Red Rum. He got to the ropes, did Jon Moxley, and Jon Moxley ended up hitting the turnbuckle pad. The turnbuckle pad came off. Cassidy went for the orange punch. Moxley with a cutter and then a gotch-style pile driver. Cassidy kicked out. Crowd was chanting, "Let's go Moxley, freshly squeezed." We had the light kicks by Moxley. He was mocking Orange Cassidy. Cassidy then dodged Moxley. Moxley went face first into the buckle. Cassidy had enough of everything. Cassidy with an orange punch, a second one, a third one. After the third one, Cassidy with a roll-up. Moxley kicked out. Cassidy just became unleashed here. 4 orange punches, 5 orange punches, 6 orange punches, beach break. 1, 2, 3. And Orange Cassidy, after 6 orange punches and a beach break, beats Jon Moxley clean. I was shocked that we did not see Jon Moxley connect with a Death Rider. I am shocked that this only went 13 minutes. But for the 13 minutes that it went, this was great. This was easily the biggest win of Orange Cassidy's career. And if you guys had any doubt, I don't care how anyone wants to look at it. I don't give a fuck what anyone says. I don't give a fuck about Jim Cornette. He can go pop a vein in his brain for all I care. I don't give a shit about Mitch Kovsky. If you're watching Mitch, you can go fuck yourself, Mitch. I don't give a fuck about Jay Leto, and Jay Leto wants to come on here like a fucking schmuck and say that, oh, he's Orange Cassidy is so overexposed. Meanwhile, he's sucking Roman Reigns' dick off left, right, and center. Orange Cassidy, whether you want to fucking admit it or not, Orange Cassidy is a main event player. Orange Cassidy is a main event player, and when he wins the world championship, it is going to be a very, very, very special day for the company. Orange Cassidy, a guy that many people never thought would even amount to anything, has easily become perhaps the second biggest homegrown star in AEW history, right behind MJF. And you can also put Adam Page in there as well. We'll talk about Adam Page because after this show, Adam Page absolutely deserves his flowers, as does Swerve Strickland. But Orange Cassidy, the biggest win of his career, and absolutely solidifies him as a main event player, a top guy, if I've ever seen one. And it's about time that a lot of people start acknowledging that. If you are going to come out here and claim that Orange Cassidy is not a main event player after the last year that he has had, you should not be discussing pro wrestling, and I'm going to need you to go fucking take a hike. Go take a hike and go fucking watch NXT and their terrible fucking show on Tuesday night. Because we do not need you talking about AEW and the greatness that Orange Cassidy is, and we do not need you trying to bash what Orange Cassidy has done for this sport and what he's done for himself. Great match. Not match of the night, but a great match nonetheless. And Jon Moxley did what he needed to do. Orange Cassidy becomes one of the very few individuals, along with Hangman Page, along with Kenny Omega, to beat Jon Moxley clean. Orange Cassidy is a main event player. Get used to hearing that. The third participant in the Continental Classic was announced, and his name is Mark Briscoe, the Sussex County Chicken. And my God, are we going to get one hell of a match with Mark Briscoe and Eddie Kingston, Mark Briscoe and Andrade, Mark Briscoe and Bryan Danielson. Mark Briscoe is going to add a lot to the Continental Classic, and I'm very, very happy that Mark Briscoe is involved in this tournament. That's going to be great. Timeless Toni Storm and Hikaru Shida. Crowd was very into Timeless Toni Storm and her butler Luther. This was for the AEW Women's World Championship. Was it a good match? Yeah, it was a good match. It was a good match. It was a very good match. Toni Storm and Hikaru Shida have never had bad matches. I'm not going to sit here and say it was a terrible match, but at the end of the day, this was probably one of the weakest matches on the show, not because it was bad, but because of the simple fact that the AEW Women's World Championship, ever since August, has essentially been a fucking hot potato. It's almost as if Tony Khan saw what Christian Cage was doing with the TNT Championship, and since the TNT Championship's not a hot potato anymore, now he has to do what he was doing with the TNT Championship with the Women's World Championship, and that's not fucking right. That's not fucking right whatsoever. If anything, what should have happened is we should have had Toni Storm retain the AEW Women's Championship going into All In. I almost said Grand Slam. Toni Storm should have retained the championship going into All In. She could have lost it to Saraya at All In, and then we could have built towards Saraya versus Toni Storm at Full Gear, and Toni Storm could have won the title at Full Gear. Instead of giving Shida a title reign, and then giving it to Saraya, and then giving it back to Shida, and then giving it back to Toni Storm. This shit is fucking ridiculous. One after the other, after the other. Shida wins, Saraya wins, Toni Storm wins, Shida wins. It's like the title's changing hands every fucking month and a half. We don't need that shit. I'm sorry. We do not need that shit. Now, you put the title on Toni Storm here. I said that there was no way that Toni Storm is losing, especially with the character that she has. With the character that she has and the gimmick that she's portraying, there was no way that Toni Storm was going to lose. Toni Storm losing would have been foolish. But at the end of the day, the flip-flopping and the hot potatoing of the AEW Women's World Championship, it just put such a damper on this match. It was a very good wrestling match for the 11 minutes that it went, but the fact that the Women's Championship has been treated so poorly ever since August, it's just very, very hard for me to sit here and be happy about the entire ordeal. I'm happy for Toni Storm, but the match itself, even though it was good, just a very sour taste left in my mouth, and I'm pretty sure a very sour taste left in everyone's mouth based on how badly the women's championship has been handled. The talent is there. The talent is there. The women's division was actually showcased very well at Full Gear. The talent is there. It's just about the proper booking. It's unbelievable to think, but the TBS championship and the Ring of Honor Women's World Championship have both felt more prestigious than the Women's World Championship for AEW. That's a fucking problem. That's a major fucking problem. I'm sorry. That's a big problem right there, and that needs to be corrected sooner rather than later. You put the title on Toni Storm. Toni Storm won the championship here. You better keep that fucking title on Toni Storm. I don't want to hear Toni Storm losing that championship until at least Revolution. Because with Revolution coming up, Revolution seems to be the ideal date for a lot of big moments. It's going to be Sting's retirement. Will Ospreay is going to be on the road to Revolution, so you know Will Ospreay is going to have a big-time money matchup at Revolution. And if anything, if you want to make Revolution even bigger, I can see Mercedes Moné coming in at Revolution. So if Mercedes Moné comes into AEW next year, Mercedes Moné versus Toni Storm for the AEW Women's World Championship, that seems like the only fucking option that you can do going into AEW's first pay-per-view of 2024. So if you're going to give me a match at Revolution for the women's division, it's Mercedes Moné and it's Toni Storm. So I don't want to hear Toni Storm losing that championship until at least March. Hell, if you want to, take her to Double or Nothing with the championship. I would gladly have her go to Double or Nothing with the women's championship, and I would gladly have Toni Storm hold the championship for at least 6 months before inevitably dropping it to Mercedes Moné. Because if you put Mercedes Moné in the championship title picture too soon, ultimately it's going to feel like Toni Storm is nothing more than a transitional champion. And you don't want to do that. You want to give Toni Storm a little bit more time with that championship, considering right now she is the hottest thing in the AEW women's division outside of Julia Hart. So Shida with the chops to the chest. Crowd was actually into this match. Shida then with the 10 punches in the corner. Toni Storm then with a shoe shot. The crowd actually popped for that. We then had Shida hitting a strong zero. Both women then traded shots. We had a question mark kick and a Falcon Arrow for a 2. Storm then with an ankle lock. It was in deep. Shida then just got to the ropes. Toni then took Shida's boot off. Shida then with a right hand to the face. She took the kendo stick and hit Luther with the kendo stick. So Luther was taken out of the equation. Toni Storm, it looks like she took a metal pallet. It almost looked like a mini frying pan. She took a mini frying pan and put it in the back of her shorts. She took a mini frying pan, put it in the back of her shorts. Back in the ring, we had Toni Storm delivering a bridging German suplex, and then Toni Storm with the hip attack with the frying pan hanging out of her shorts. I believe it was on her right ass cheek. The hip attack with the frying pan on her ass cheek, and Shida was knocked out because of it, and Toni Storm wins the AEW Women's World Championship. Was this the right outcome? Yes, it was. Because there was no way that you're going to have Toni Storm go through this drastic character change, a character change in which everyone is embracing, and you're going to have her lose the championship. There's no way. No chance in hell. I would really like to hope that now that the title is on Toni Storm and she is doing her thing with the timeless gimmick, I would really like to hope that she is going to hold that championship for a considerable amount of time. Afterwards, Mariah May came out with her flowers and she celebrated with timeless Toni Storm, and that was that. So up until this point, the show was good, but it did not have anything over the top or crazy. We had a fun opener. We had a great match with Moxley and Cassidy, but ultimately nothing that you're going to be talking about outside of the fact that Cassidy got a big moment. And then obviously you got a very good match with Toni Storm and Hikaru Shida, but it left a sour taste in everyone's mouth because of how poorly the women's title has been booked. After that match, Eddie Kingston was interviewed, and it was announced that Eddie Kingston will be throwing his name into the hat for the Continental Classic tournament. and he will be putting the New Japan Strong Openweight Championship and the Ring of Honor World title on the line in every match that he competes in. And Tony Khan did actually confirm that the winner of the Continental Classic will receive one championship, one title. It's going to be the Continental Championship. It's going to be the Ring of Honor World Championship and the Strong Openweight Championship. It's all going to be unified as one. It will all be unified as one. And if they're going to unify it, I have no problem with that because we do not need another championship in AEW. But if we are going to have all three titles unified, my guess is that they'll probably end with the Ring of Honor Championship being the one championship that is left. Because I don't understand how you're going to have Ring of Honor underneath the brand of Tony Khan and you're not going to have a Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Championship. So I'm assuming that all these titles are going to be unified and we will indeed see the Ring of Honor World Championship as the standalone championship, and the Ring of Honor World Championship will go forth into 2024 alongside Tony Khan and alongside AEW, and that will be the main prize for the Ring of Honor brand in the future. I guess we'll have to wait and see. I don't really like the fact that they're unifying all these championships. I would much rather have New Japan stick to New Japan, Ring of Honor stick to Ring of Honor, and I would not give the winner of the tournament a championship match or a championship to begin with. I would give them a championship match. I would give them a title match against the world champion. Or if anything, if you want to make things a little bit more interesting, give them the opportunity at a championship of their choosing. The international title, the TNT title, the AEW world title, instead of going out there and giving them a completely different championship when we already have enough championships in AEW, it would be much better to give the winner a championship opportunity rather than a completely new title. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. Tony Khan said on the media scrum that all championships involved will be unified into one. But Eddie Kingston adding more stakes to the Continental Tournament. It is certainly going to be one hell of a tournament. I will give them that. It's shaping up to be a classic. No pun intended. Speaking of a classic, we got the Fatal 4-Way ladder match. Kings of the Black Throne, La Facción Ingobernables, FTR, and Ricky Starks and Big Bill. Fatal 4-Way ladder match for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. This match really didn't get much of a build. This match really didn't get much heat going into it. But the fact that you have the talent that you have in this match, you got Big Bill, you got Brody King, Malachi Black, FTR, Rush Dralistico, and Ricky Starks. All these people, Starks, Big Bill, King, X amount of individuals, all these individuals rolled up into one. It really does seem as though a lot of people were sleeping on this match, and every single individual in this match proved every one of those individuals that were just writing them off wrong. And the fact that they added a ladder match stipulation, my God, every single one of these individuals deserve a fucking pay raise. Brutal. Absolutely brutal. And the crazy thing about it is this match wasn't even the best match on the show. I would probably say that this was the second best match on the show. This is where things really started to pick up. After Eddie Kingston's announcement that he was going to be included into the Continental Classic, this is where things really started to pick up in this tournament. So the brawl started right out of the gate. We had Cash and Rush going at it with some big chops. Cash was then sent into Rush off of the apron by Big Bill and Brody King. We then had a Tope Con Hero by Dralistico taking out the pile. Malachi Black then came in with a moonsault. And then Dax Harwood suplexed Ricky Starks off of the top rope onto the pile on the floor. Big Bill and Brody King then went at it. The crowd started chanting, "Meat, meat, meat." So Dax Harwood then threw a ladder at Rush. Dax Harwood then used the ladder on multiple men before Dralistico drop-kicked a ladder off of Dax's head. Roosh, then with a kick to Cash Wheeler. We had a tranquilo pose by Roosh. Obviously, he was showing off. It's great. It's great to see Roosh back. Roosh is fucking amazing at what he does. Great to see him back. So Cash Wheeler and Malachi Black then went at it. We then had Malachi Black slingshotting a ladder into Cash Wheeler's face. The crowd was chanting, "This is awesome." Cash was then draped onto a ladder. He got off it before Cash and Black were up on the top rope, and Cash Wheeler delivered a pile driver onto the ladder to Malachi Black. Absolutely fucking brutal. Brody King then came in and he wanted to take out Bill. Bill then threw a ladder at Brody King. Starks came in, delivered a spear to Drolistico, a spear to Roosh, tornado DDT on Dax. Brody King was busted open. He was wearing a crimson mask. Starks then with a belly-to-belly overhead throw to Black into the ladder. Brody King then draped Dax onto a ladder. Brody King then went for the titles, but in came Big Bill. Big Bill then tipped the ladder over, and King was sent crashing off the ladder into another ladder that was draped into the corner. That ladder in the corner, that they had a lot of bodies flying onto it, that's for sure. King was then crushed onto a ladder bridge. King was crushed onto a ladder bridge, and we then had a code breaker. Code breaker by Drolistico onto Big Bill. Big Bill came back with a choke slam. Roosh then had Big Bill in a prone position. He put a ladder by Big Bill and delivered the bull's horns with the ladder. We then had a six-way brawl. In came Drolistico. Drolistico delivered a poison Rana on Malachi Black. Brody King then took Drolistico out to the apron and delivered a gonzo bomb. This fucking guy delivers a gonzo bomb off of the apron onto the ladder bridge, and the ladder doesn't even fucking break. So then Big Bill decides to put Brody King back onto the ladder. Dax Harwood then took out Big Bill, and then, as if this wasn't enough, Dax Harwood, he went for the championships while Cash Wheeler climbed to the top and delivered a big splash off of the top rope to the floor. He almost lost his fucking balance. Delivered a big splash off the top rope to the floor onto Brody King. Absolutely fucking insane. Crowd was chanting AEW, AEW. Big Bill then came in. Malachi Black then took out Dax Harwood. Cash Wheeler got back up and took out Malachi Black. Big Bill assisted Ricky Starks as Ricky Starks bashed the championship off of Cash Wheeler's head, and Ricky Starks and Big Bill unhooked the championships, and Ricky Starks and Big Bill are still the AEW World Tag Team Champions. And I have absolutely zero issue with this whatsoever because this was the right outcome. Now, would I have had Ricky Starks and Big Bill beat FTR to win the championships last month in October? No, I wouldn't have. I wouldn't have had that whatsoever. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you, oh yeah, Big Bill and Ricky Starks should lose the championships just a month and a half after winning them. You elected to give Ricky Starks and Big Bill the tag team championships. And I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this, but Ricky Starks and Big Bill, they are very good at what they do. They have actually meshed together very, very well. They have gelled together in such a short period of time. And the fact that they are the World Tag Team Champions, this is actually a testament to how good they really are. We all thought that Big Bill was just going to be another big guy that was going to fall by the wayside in AEW. Certainly not the case here. He's one half of the AEW World Tag Team Champions. And Ricky Starks is having one hell of a year. Ricky Starks, this has probably been Ricky Starks' best year in his entire career. He beat Chris Jericho twice. He had a feud with Jay White. He won the Owen Hart Cup tournament, beat CM Punk. He had a great feud with Bryan Danielson. He won the AEW World Tag Team Championships, and he had one hell of a match here with Big Bill and these three other teams. Up until this point, this was easily the best match on the show. And then we got to Hangman Page and Swerve Strickland, which we will talk about in just a little bit. But this was an excellent match, easily the second best match on the show. And the tag team division, I'm really liking what they're doing with the tag team division. The tag team division has seemingly gone into a renaissance. You take a look at the tag team division right now. You got FTR. You got Christian Cage and the Patriarchy. You got the House of Black. You got La Facción Ingobernables. You got the Bucks. You got the Golden Jets. You got the Hardys. You got the Righteous. Big Bill and Ricky Starks. Lot of good material on the AEW tag team division side of things. And I really do hope that this tag team renaissance will indeed continue going into 2024, because you got a lot of good tag team matches that you can put together. And based on what happened later on in the show, Ricky Starks and Big Bill, they're going to have their work cut out for them at World's End, because the Golden Jets are coming for those championships. And I do believe that that is going to be one hell of a tag team match come World's End. So after that match, we needed to clear the ring. We needed to get all the shit sorted out. Absolutely fucking unbelievable here. We then go into the TBS Championship Triple Threat match. This is Chris Statlander, Julia Hart, and Sky Blue. These three women were put in a very, and I mean a very, very, very tough spot. And I can't even believe that I'm going to say this, but these three women actually put together a great triple threat match. I was actually shocked that this match turned out to be as good as it was. I thought that we were going to get a very good triple threat match and the crowd was going to be half dead for it. But they actually did a very good job and they got the crowd invested in what they were doing. And I got to give them a lot of credit for that. Very well done on both not Ricky Starks. Very well done on both Julia Hart, Sky Blue, and Chris Statlander. They did a very good job, and we ended up getting a great triple threat match. And Julia Hart is the new AEW TBS champion. Let's talk about how we got there. So Chris Statlander was fighting off both women at the same time. We had a nice double clothesline by Statlander. Statlander and Sky Blue, they went at it. Sky Blue then with a Hurricane Rana to Statlander on the floor. Sky Blue and Julia Hart were actually working together against Chris Statlander, and that was actually pretty smart. You got to take out the champion. Sky Blue and Julia Hart delivered super kicks to Chris Statlander. They then went at it themselves. Statlander then went for the knee of Sky Blue. She delivered a roundhouse kick, and Sky Blue then countered with a rolling neck breaker. Hart then came in with a lariat. We had a super kick by Hart on Sky Blue, discus lariat by Statlander. Statlander with a Falcon Arrow for a 2. Sky Blue was caught into a forward electric chair drop by Statlander. Julia Hart then shoved her off. She went up for the moonsault press, but Chris Statlander saved the match. Statlander then delivered a power slam to Julia Hart on the floor. Sky Blue then with a big boot and Zaguri. She then delivered a beautiful looking Code Blue. She had a very, very close near fall. I actually thought that Sky Blue was going to win the championship right then and there. Hart then came in. She then went for the Heartless Lock on Sky Blue. So with the Heartless Lock locked in, Statlander saw this, delivered a deadlift German suplex to Julia Hart. Deadlift German suplex to Sky Blue. One after the other. She was just cleaning house. You may as well have called her Brock Lesnar. Sky Blue with a Hurricane Rana. And Chris Statlander caught her in Saturday Night Fever. Julia Hart then came in with a clothesline on Statlander. Julia Hart pins Sky Blue. And Chris Statlander was protected in defeat as Julia Hart pins Sky Blue to become the new AEW TBS champion. This was actually better than what Toni Storm and Hikaru Shida did, and I was actually kind of shocked. If anything, probably the best thing about the AEW women's division right now is the TBS division. The TBS championship division is probably the most competitive division that we've seen. We've seen some really great women's matches from Chris Statlander over the course of the last several months. Whether it be Taya Valkyrie, Britt Baker, Emi Sakura, whether it be Sky Blue or Willow Nightingale, Julia Hart, Chris Statlander's been killing it. Now, I was a little disappointed that Statlander lost, but at the same point in time, I was very, very happy for Sky Blue. Now, the only reason why it's a little hard to see Chris Statlander lose the championship here is because of the fact that if Statlander loses, realistically, the next step is the AEW Women's World Championship. And based on the fact that Toni Storm just won the championship, and we have Mercedes Moné coming in, and more likely than not, Mercedes Moné is going to be the new AEW Women's World Champion. It is very, 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 very hard for me to say that Chris Statlander is going to have a place in the AEW Women's World title picture at this moment. And if she does have a place, she's ultimately going to come up short because no one's beating Toni Storm until Mercedes Moné comes in. And when Mercedes Moné comes in, you think that Mercedes Moné is just going to hold that championship for a couple months and then dish AEW? Of course not. If Mercedes Moné is coming in, Tony Khan has every, and I mean every possible plan in his arsenal to make sure that Mercedes Moné is the longest reigning AEW Women's World Champion of all time. There is no chance in hell that Mercedes Moné is going to come in ultimately to have a meaningless title reign. That woman will be the longest reigning AEW Women's World Champion of all time. So if not the AEW Women's World title picture, where can Chris Statlander go? I could see Chris Statlander maybe fighting Athena on Ring of Honor TV. Maybe Statlander is the one to end Athena's reign. I know a lot of people have been saying that Ronda Rousey, she's currently working on a handshake agreement. Ronda Rousey, I can see fighting Athena at Final Battle, but if Ronda Rousey's fighting Athena at Final Battle, Ronda Rousey is not winning the championship. Ronda Rousey is just going to go in there, and Ronda Rousey is going to put over Athena. Now, if they want to, I would not be opposed. I would not be opposed whatsoever if we see Chris Statlander built up to fight Athena at Ring of Honor, Supercard of Honor next year, because I can't see her fighting Athena at Final Battle. I can't see it. But if we see Chris Statlander built up to fight Athena at Supercard of Honor next year, I would not mind one bit if we see Statlander beat Athena for the Ring of Honor Women's World Championship. That would be a great, and I mean a great way to transfer credibility from Athena to Statlander. And then Athena can move up to AEW TV. You don't think that Athena wants to move up to AEW TV? You don't think we're going to get Athena versus Shida, Athena versus Julia Hart, Athena versus Sky Blue, Athena versus Mercedes Moné, Athena versus Toni Storm, Athena versus Saraya, Athena versus Ruby Soho? You don't think we're going to get those matches? Of course we are. So if Statlander is going to beat Athena, that I don't mind, but I just can't see her in the AEW Women's World title picture. That's why I actually had it in my head that they were going to keep the title on Statlander, so that way they can give her a little bit more time with the TBS Championship before they inevitably move her up to the Women's World title picture. But in the end, Julia Hart takes the win, and Julia Hart, I have to give a lot of props to Julia Hart. Where Julia Hart was several years ago in 2021 versus where she is now, that right there is a massive, and I mean a massive transition, and probably one of the biggest leaps that I've seen a female superstar, a female wrestler make in many, many moons. So I got to give a lot of props to Julia Hart. Props to Sky Blue too. Sky Blue was awful. Sky Blue was a terrible pro wrestler a couple years back. I don't know what she did, but Sky Blue has improved leaps and bounds. If there is one female superstar that has been a breakout star for the year, it is absolutely Sky Blue. Sky Blue and Willow Nightingale are the top two newest female prospects in AEW that have had great years and breakout performances as well. This right here, this was Sky Blue's coming out party. This match was Sky Blue's coming out party, just like Willow Nightingale had her coming out party against Athena at Ring of Honor Death Before Dishonor. This was an excellent triple threat match, and Julia Hart, props to Julia Hart. I cannot wait to see what Julia Hart does going into the future. Julia Hart is going to have one damn good championship reign. If it's anything like what the House of Black did with the Trios Championships, we're in for a damn good TBS Championship title reign. Tony Schiavone. Tony Schiavone was in the ring, and they were going to announce the newest blockbuster signee to AEW. And when the theme music hit, the crowd popped. It was the aerial assassin, Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay coming out hyped as ever. He signed the paper. He then took the microphone. He was all happy. He did say that he's not done just yet. He said that he's going to finish up with New Japan, and then he will be on the road to Revolution. But more importantly, more than anything, I am all elite, bruv. So line up the best talent that you got, especially for Wembley, and I'll show you what elite really looks like. And based on the fact that he said Wembley, it looks like we got ourselves one half of our main event for Wembley Stadium in 2024. And that right there, that is going to be one hell of a show, to say the least. I'm very much looking forward to seeing what Will Ospreay does. And if anything, when he comes in next year full time, we are going to get ourselves one hell of a run. I think that Will Ospreay could easily be the best signee that AEW has signed probably since Punk. Now, Punk, obviously, we know the impact that Punk had. We know the fact that he had some great storylines, some great feuds, but from a wrestling aspect, Will Ospreay is going to take AEW to the next level. And there's going to be a lot of people on that roster that are going to be working hard to get on Will Ospreay's level. Because Will Ospreay, on arrival, Will Ospreay is automatically number one. From there, we're coming down to the home stretch. We are down to the final 3 matches on the show. Again, this show flew by. Show completely fucking flew by. We go down to the final 3 matches on the show. We go to Swerve Strickland versus Hangman Adam Page, Texas Death Match. This was probably the match that I was looking forward to the most because this match had the best story going into the feud. Into the show itself, the pay-per-view. It had the best overall presentation. Swerve has been booked like an absolute savage this year. This has easily been Swerve's best career year ever. Hangman Page, we all know how good Hangman Adam Page is. Hangman Adam Page easily is one of the best protagonists that AEW has ever had in their short history. Hangman Adam Page, on top of that, easily one of the most underappreciated pro wrestlers on the planet right now. There's a lot of people that kind of overlook Adam Page when it comes to in-ring work. When it comes to wrestling, Hangman Adam Page is easily one of the best of this era. And Hangman Adam Page should absolutely get another world title run down the line. So, Swerve, he got a great entrance. We had a group of women with Prince Nana doing the Swerve dance, which I thought was a very nice choreographed dance. Swerve just came off like a main event star. He was oozing confidence, stern face, just looking around with no emotion on his face whatsoever. So we didn't even get Hangman's entrance. Instead, we got Hangman attacking Swerve right out of the gate. Hangman then with a buckshot lariat. Swerve then got his hands duct taped together. So Hangman Adam Page was wasting no time. This motherfucker, might I remind you, we're only 3 minutes, not even 3 minutes into this match. Hangman Adam Page takes a fucking stapler gun. He takes a stapler gun and starts stapling Swerve Strickland in his bicep. He starts stapling him in his chest. He then busts Swerve Strickland open. Swerve Strickland's busted open. He then takes one of his son's paintings and staples it to his face. He staples one of his son's paintings to his face, and then like a fucking vampire, he puts his head underneath Swerve's head and squeezes Swerve's head to let his blood drip down into his mouth. I don't think I've ever fucking seen this in my life. It's like I was watching fucking Bruiser Brody and Abdullah the Butcher. Absolutely fucking insane. Hangman Adam Page is fucking sociopath drinking Swerve's blood. So, after that, Swerve Strickland then with a low blow, he then took the stapler gun and stapled Adam Page's forehead. Swerve Strickland then laughed and smiled and started using the stapler gun on himself. So Swerve was like, hey, Hangman, you want to get crazy? I'll get crazy too. I'm fucking impervious to pain. I'll staple myself with the fucking stapler gun. Absolutely unbelievable. I was fucking frightened of him. So Swerve Strickland then pulled out a barbed wire covered chair. Swerve then, he sent Page right into the barbed wire covered chair. We then had Swerve bringing in a cinder block. Swerve brought in a cinder block. Swerve and Page were on the apron. Swerve bit Page in the forehead and delivered a Death Valley driver on the cinder block. And the block didn't break. So afterwards, both men were on the barricade. Swerve then with a pile driver on the barricade to MJF. Both men were just covered in fucking blood. It was like a fucking crime scene. So Hangman then took barbed wire. He wrapped it around Swerve. So like, you know how someone takes rope and ties rope around someone's torso with their arms? He took barbed wire, wrapped it around Swerve and his body, his torso, and delivered a fallaway slam with Swerve wrapped in the barbed wire. So Page then, like a maniac, took a barbed wire chair and delivered an Orihara moonsault with the barbed wire chair on Swerve Strickland. Absolutely insane. Swerve then booted the chair out of Page's face in the ring. Page went up and delivered a tombstone pile driver on the barbed wire chair. Unbelievable. So Page got up and Prince Nana helped Swerve Strickland get up. The crowd was going nuts. Swerve then hit Adam Page with the chair. We had a power bomb onto the chair and then a Swerve stomp onto the barbed wire chair. Page still got up. The crowd was going absolutely nuts. Swerve got up. Swerve then went for more weapons. He got a black bag, and we all thought it was thumbtacks. Instead, this motherfucker, Swerve Strickland, had a black bag of broken glass. He had a black bag of broken glass. He poured the glass onto Hangman Page's back. And Swerve Strickland, like a fucking insane stuntsman, like a fucking sociopath, no regard for his safety. Swerve Strickland does a fucking 450 splash off the top rope onto Hangman Page with the glass wedged in between the both of them, stuffing the glass into Hangman Page's back even more so. I mean, I don't think I've ever fucking seen that. They were doing shit that I don't think I have ever fucking seen in a Texas death match, in a last man standing match, or anything. It was making what Nakamura and Seth Rollins did at Fastlane look like child's play. Complete child's play. So, afterwards, he then hit the JML driver, did Swerve. Page just beat the count. I don't know how the fuck he did, but he just beat the count. The match continued. We then had Prince Nana bringing in a barbed wire board, and they set it up on two chairs in the ring. Both men were up on the top. Hangman Page with an avalanche moonsault power slam onto the barbed wire board. It broke in half. He then powerbombed Swerve onto the barbed wire and then delivered a deadeye onto the barbed wire. Page then took the barbed wire, wrapped it around Swerve's throat, and delivered a buckshot lariat with the barbed wire around Swerve's throat. And we thought that was it. I actually thought that was it. There was no way he was getting up from it. Prince Nana then pulled Swerve out of the ring, and the match continues. And at this point, Hangman Adam Page, He didn't know what to fucking do. All of a sudden, Brian Cage came up from behind Adam Page, blasted him, hit him with an F5. Brian Cage then brought out a table. Hangman Page then took a barbed wire, took barbed wire, and he was using it against Cage. So Hangman Page took out Brian Cage with the barbed wire, and then Prince Nana was grabbed by the collar. He was doing the swerve dance. He was doing the dance on the apron, and Adam Page took Nana and delivered a deadeye off the apron through the table. And it was one-on-one again. Swerve, at this point, has had enough, took the cinder block from earlier in the match, broke it over the back of Hangman Adam Page, and the ref was counting, but Swerve stopped him. Swerve stopped him, and then Swerve took a chain. Swerve took the chain, and in the same manner that Hangman choked out Jon Moxley back at Revolution, Swerve Strickland hung Adam Page in a noose over the post and completely choked him out, and the ref counted. Hangman Adam Page could not answer the count, and Swerve Strickland gets the win in perhaps what was the greatest Texas death match that we have ever witnessed, and on top of that, easily the best match of Swerve's career, may have been the best match of Hangman's career, and absolutely a bona fide match of the year candidate, easily in the top 5. Now, I don't want to say that I was shocked that Swerve won. I mean, I was shocked, but at the same time, I wasn't shocked. Now, I was shocked in the sense that I was thinking to myself before the show, there's no way that Adam Page can lose this. And the reason being is because, number one, how do you lose after someone just invaded your house? How are you going to have the villain in the story win when the villain invaded the hero's home? It's the same thing that happened with Seth Rollins back in 2021 when he was feuding with Adam Copeland. Adam Copeland had his home raided by Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins raided Adam Copeland's home, right? He raided Adam Copeland's home, which resulted in a Hell in a Cell match, and Seth Rollins ended up losing inside Hell in a Cell to Adam Copeland. So by that logic, I was thinking, how exactly does Hangman lose? That was the first reason. And then the second reason is I didn't think that this was going to be the end. I didn't think that this was going to be the end because this feud has probably been one of the best things about the entire wrestling industry coming out of AEW All In. Coming out of All In, Swerve and Page have easily been one of the best acts on TV outside of whatever MJF is doing. So, by that logic, why exactly would this be the end after 2 matches? If anything, this feud had a little bit more juice in it. You could have easily had built another match going into AEW World's End, and you could have had Hangman and Swerve inside a steel cage, and that could have been the end of the feud. That's why I expected Page to win this, because aside from the fact that this match could have extended to a third match, aside from the fact that Hangman Page had his home raided, so realistically he needed to get revenge, aside from those 2 factors, Swerve Strickland would not have really taken a legitimate loss. A legitimate loss would be if Swerve Strickland was pinned or if Swerve Strickland tapped out. So if Hangman Adam Page beat Swerve Strickland via a technicality because Swerve could not answer the referee's count of 10, realistically speaking, would that have hurt Swerve? If this feud was ultimately going to continue and we were going to get Swerve winning in the end, ultimately, Swerve getting the victory in the steel cage match, if they wanted to go that route, Swerve getting the victory at World's End and taking a technicality loss here rather than a pinfall or submission loss, it really wouldn't have harmed him. Matter of fact, after that kind of match, it doesn't matter whether you win or you lose. Your stock is going to get elevated regardless. Now, am I complaining that Swerve won? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. This was easily the match that catapulted Swerve to the next level. If you thought their Wrestle Dream match was good, this match brought, my God, everything to the table that you could possibly bring. This match blew the Wrestle Dream match out of the water leaps and bounds. And the Wrestle Dream match was actually a very good match in its own right. But oh my God, what a fucking match. Absolutely fucking insane this was. Easily, match of the night, match of the year candidate, one of the best matches all year, one of the most brutal matches in the history of this business, and easily, leaps and bounds, the best match of Swerve's career. If it's not Adam Cole, I've said this before and I'm going to say it again. If it's not Adam Cole, if Adam Cole is not cleared to compete and Adam Cole cannot do it, Swerve Strickland is absolutely the guy to beat MJF. There's absolutely no one better. You can go talk about Wardlow. You can go and talk about Samoa Joe. You could talk about Adam Page. You could talk about Adam Cole. But in the end, Swerve Strickland right now, he is giving you every fucking reason in the book why he should be the one to beat MJF for the World Championship. Hell, for all we know, Swerve Strickland could very well be involved in the world title picture at World's End. For all we know. Maybe he's involved in the Continental Classic. Maybe he wins the Continental Classic. I don't know about you, but it's definitely there. It is definitely there, to say the least. Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. You could not pay me enough money to go and take some of the bumps that they took in this match. Absolutely unbelievable. One of the craziest matches and one of the greatest wars that AEW has ever produced in its short history. Swerve Strickland is a fucking superstar. Again, look at the talent that was made into superstars tonight. Julia Hart, Orange Cassidy, Swerve Strickland. I'm telling you, AEW, they got a very bright future. The future of AEW looks very, very bright. And sooner rather than later, AEW is going to be in very good hands when it comes to those individuals. The likes of Daniel Garcia, the likes of Dralistico, the likes of Top Flight and Julia Hart and Orange Cassidy and Swerve. The homegrown talent, the young generation in AEW, that's where it's at. Swerve Strickland's a part of that. Whether you want to call him an ex-WWE guy or not. If anything, I don't even consider him an ex-WWE guy. He never had the opportunity to fully establish himself in WWE. How many years did he spend in WWE? 2 years? Not even 3 years? I don't consider Swerve a former WWE guy. If anything, Swerve Strickland, he's a guy that never got the proper opportunity to showcase what he can really do. And WWE passed on him. WWE should be ashamed of themselves for passing on Swerve. Swerve Strickland will be a world champion in 2024. Easily the best match of the night, one of the best matches of the year, and one of the best matches of Swerve's career. This is where the show started to slow down a little bit. And it's not on anyone. It's not on the Bucks. It's not on Omega. It's not on Jericho. It's not on Bullet Club Gold. It's not on MJF. The show started to slow down a little bit just because of the fact that the Texas Death Match was so good. The Texas Death Match was so good that it was legitimately impossible for anyone. To top what Swerve and Hangman did. But we go into Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho, the Golden Jets, versus the Young Bucks. Now, if the Golden Jets lost this match, they would be forced to disband. If the Young Bucks lost this match, their guaranteed World Tag Team title opportunity is no more, and it will go to the Golden Jets. This match was kind of a tale of two cities, if I'm going to be quite honest with you. Kind of a tale of two cities. It started off very slow, very boring, and I'm not sure what it was. I'm not sure if it was just because of a lack of communication. I'm not sure if it was just because of the crowd being just so worn out and so fucking tired from the Texas death match. But the first half of this match, very slow paced, very boring, very uninteresting. And then after the halfway point, it started to pick up. I think the match went around 20 minutes or so, 21 minutes. The first 10 minutes of this match, very, very blah, but it ended up getting better. It turned out to be a decent tag team match in the end, but this was probably the worst Young Bucks match that we have seen in many, many years. I can't even believe that I'm saying that, because usually the Young Bucks are the highlight of the show. I can't even believe I'm saying this, but what the Bucks did on Wednesday on Dynamite with Penta and Commander, that was actually better than what they did with the Golden Jets here. Just a lack of communication, I guess. Just a lack of communication, just tiredness from the Texas death match on the crowd's perspective. Maybe it's something deeper. Maybe it's something deeper than that, because I did allude to this. And whether you want to admit it or not, I don't care who the fuck you are. I don't care what kind of sources you got backstage in AEW. Something is going on with the Elite. I'm telling you right now, there is a rift. There is a rift between Omega, Hangman, and the Bucks. Hangman and Omega, they have gone out of their way to help make superstars. They have gone out of their way to be as selfless as they could be. This was legitimately Kenny Omega's first and only pay-per-view win in 2023. He helped put over the House of Black. He helped put over the Blackpool Combat Club. He helped put over Konosuke Takeshita twice. I mean, Omega, he has not cared whatsoever whether he wins or he loses. He just wants to go out there and he wants to wrestle. He just wants to go out there and he just wants to put on great matches like he's always been meant to do. That's all. That's all that Kenny Omega wants to do. He wants to go out there, he wants to put on great matches, and he wants to help out everyone else. Same thing with Adam Page. You think Adam Page gives a shit if he wins or he loses? Page doesn't give a shit. All Page wants to do is go out there and perform at a high level. And that's exactly what Page did. The Bucks, I don't know what's going on with the Bucks. It's almost like in the last 6 months, we've started to see the true colors of the Bucks. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure what's been going on, but it's almost like the Bucks they've been taking what's been going on backstage and they've been putting it on television, acting like bitchy children and throwing temper tantrums at ringside and tearing up the ringside area, throwing their shoes into the crowd. It's been very, 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 very odd. Very odd to say the least. And I truthfully do not know what the fuck is going on with them. I really don't. I don't know what the fuck's going on with them. Now, I don't know what they are going to be doing going into the future. Brandon Cutler actually came out on social media saying that the Bucks are actually they're going to be taking a hiatus. They're going to be taking a hiatus from AEW. I'm not sure if that's real. I'm not sure if that's fake. I'm not sure if that's a work or not. I'm not sure if the Bucks are going to turn heel. I'm not sure if this is going to be a new dawn of AEW. I'm not sure if Tony Khan is punishing the Bucks. Matter of fact, I wouldn't put it past if Tony Khan is punishing the Bucks quietly. Because at the end of the day, if Tony Khan is punishing the Bucks, then it's almost as if Tony Khan is acknowledging that even though Punk was in the wrong, the Bucks were also in the wrong. And listen, everyone was in the wrong there, but it's almost as if Omega and Page, they've learned from their mistakes. The Bucks have not. I don't know what's going on, but clearly, something is up. Something is up, and I would not be shocked if there is indeed a rift between the Elite. I would not be shocked if there is a rift between Omega, the Bucks, and Hangman Page. I mean, just think about it. I just want you to think for a minute. Why exactly would the Young Bucks be going out there acting like bitchy children? Why would the Young Bucks have their title opportunity on the line against the Golden Jets and the Young Bucks lose to the Golden Jets? What Omega said on TV a couple weeks back, how they've been acting like selfish, whiny, bitchy children, That is a shoot if I've ever seen one. That's a shoot if I've ever heard one. You are not going to be able to convince me that there isn't some sort of a rift, some sort of tension, some issues going on between Hangman, Omega, and the Elite. Hangman has been very, very quiet. Hangman's been very, very reserved. Omega and Hangman, they seem to have learned from the Punk incident. It's almost as if the Bucks are just egging shit on left, right, and center. It's almost as if they're just purposely trying to start shit just for the sake of it. I don't know what's going on, but there are definitely issues going on within the Elite. Now, the match itself was not a bad tag team match whatsoever, but in terms of a wrestling perspective, you compare it to the other matches on the show, this kind of fell into the lackluster category. Not to say that it was a bad tag team match. It was a decent tag team match, but after that Texas Death Match, I mean, no one was following it. Absolutely no one was following that Texas Death Match, and it was probably the worst Young Bucks match that I've seen in a long, long time. So it was very slow-paced early on. Omega then with a tope con hero on Matt Jackson. Nick Jackson came in with a PK. Baseball slide by Jericho. Jericho's arm was then sandwiched into the steps. The crowd was actually chanting CM Punk, which was quickly drowned out by boos. So Jericho's arm was bleeding. The crowd was actually booing the Young Bucks. I don't think I've ever seen a day where the Bucks were actually booed in California. So that came off as a bit of a shock to me. So afterwards, we had an enziguri by Matt Jackson. Kenny Omega came in with a Snapdragon, rolling senton, backstabber on Nick, moonsault on Matt to the floor. We had a big knee by Omega, tag to Jericho. Jericho with a double lion salt. Jericho's arm was not too favorable during the match. Matt Jackson then got taken out. We had a rolling kick by Nick Jackson. We had the dunk by Omega. Jericho then caught Matt Jackson in a Hurricane Rana and locked Matt Jackson in with the walls. Omega then took out Nick Jackson. Jericho's arm eventually gave out. Jericho and Omega then caught a double Northern Lights suplex by Matt Jackson. German suplex by Nick Jackson to Omega on the apron. We had a swanton bomb to an elevated Chris Jericho. Jericho kicked out. Matt Jackson was up top. Jericho with a Hurricane Rana from the middle rope. The referee was distracted. We had a low blow by Nick Jackson on Jericho. Aubrey Edwards didn't see it. And then all of a sudden, Matt Jackson came in, delivered a low blow on Omega. We then had Nick Jackson delivering a Judas effect on Jericho. Omega saved it. We had a springboard swanton bomb on Omega to the floor. BTE trigger, but Jericho kicked out. Bucks couldn't believe it. This is where the match started to pick up. We then had Omega being taken out once again. Super kicks by Jericho to the Bucks. We had a low blow by Jericho. Turnabout is fair play. Tag to Kenny Omega. This is where things started to get interesting because Jericho and Matt Jackson were both in the ring. And Omega pointed the gun at Chris Jericho. Omega faked out Jericho. And Omega with a V-trigger on Matt Jackson. Snapdragons to the Bucks. Poison Rana by Nick, One-Winged Angel on Kenny, and Omega kicked out. So Omega is the only man to kick out of the One-Winged Angel. We then had a Code Breaker by Jericho to Nick Jackson. We then had Christ Wraths by Omega. Christ Wrath and Matt Jackson kicked out. We had a super kick by Nick Jackson. Judas Effect connects. Super kick by Matt. One-Winged Angel, 1, 2, 3. The Golden Jets get the win. And in the end, we ended up getting a solid tag team match. But the first half, very boring. And that was probably a combination of lack of communication, like I said, easily tiredness because of the Texas Death Match. And in the end, the Bucks lose their tag team title opportunity. And that was the right outcome. That was the right outcome right there. I think a lot of people are just sick and tired of seeing the Bucks in the tag team title picture. A lot of people are just sick and tired of seeing the Bucks always in main event spots, and maybe a lot of people need a break from the Young Bucks. Maybe the Young Bucks do need a break. Maybe we do need the Young Bucks taking a break from professional wrestling for a little bit, at least until the beginning of next year. I think for the rest of the year, going into the first couple months of 2024, we need the Bucks taking a break from the professional wrestling world as a whole. Because as of right now, the Young Bucks they're very overexposed. I don't want to say that they're a tired act. They're not a tired act, but the Bucks have been leaving a very sour taste in people's mouth after the whole Punk incident and the fact that they've been bringing their selfish, bitchy children attitudes to AEW TV. I think it's about time that the Bucks take a little bit of a break. And with the Golden Jets winning the tag team titles, this actually presents a much more interesting scenario going into AEW World's End, where we get Omega and Jericho taking on who I presumably will be Ricky Starks and Big Bill. And that should be a pretty damn good tag team match. I'm looking forward to that. We'll see how that plays out. But probably the worst Young Bucks match I think I've seen. Probably the worst Young Bucks match in a long, long time. And then afterwards, the Bucks, they just started throwing a tantrum at ringside. Nick started tossing his shoes into the crowd, and it was just a very embarrassing look for the Bucks. I honest to God, I really do not know what they're doing. I don't know what they're doing with the Bucks. Solid tag team match, but kind of fell by the wayside in the end. And the biggest thing about this is the fact that the Bucks are no longer number one contenders for the tag team titles. And Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho, they got their hands full with Ricky Starks and Big Bill. And for the time being, I don't mind whatsoever that Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho are in the tag team division. It actually makes the tag team division feel a little bit more important. The main event, or what was presumably going to be the main event, it was supposed to be Adam Cole and Jay White for the AEW World Championship. So we ended up having Adam Cole coming out there in crutches. Adam Cole came out there in crutches, and he did his whole Adam Cole Bay thing. We then had Jay White coming out here looking as cocky as ever, looking all slick, all smug. He's ready to beat Adam Cole because Adam Cole is not going to be able to do the match on one leg. So he feels as though the match is all but over, and the match is pretty much won for him. So after that, we had the referee taking the championship. Adam Cole was still in his street clothes, by the way. All of a sudden, you hear the ambulance car coming on in. Cole was smiling from ear to ear, and MJF came back through the curtain, stole the ambulance. He was hobbling around on one leg. He wrapped his leg, and there were people trying to stop MJF. He could barely stand. Just completely overbooked nonsense right here. Jay White then smiled again. He wasn't expecting MJF to come back, but Jay White smiled again when he realized that MJF could not stand, could not put any weight on that leg. So we get the match. Jay White, obviously smart, went right after the leg. The Guns went to crush MJF's leg in the chair again, but the referee caught him red-handed. The Guns were then ejected from ringside. So MJF tried to fight back. The crowd was hyping up for MJF. We had MJF biting White's forehead, delivering the kangaroo kick, and then MJF was chop blocked by Jay White. So every single time MJF had offense, Jay White would go for the leg. Jay White then delivered a Uranagi for a 2. MJF then with a DDT to White on the floor. MJF then tried to tear apart the announce desk, but the desk collapsed. So that was obviously a botch. MJF said, fuck it. botch or not, I'm going to hit this guy with a fucking elbow drop. He put Jay White on the announce table covering. He went up to the top rope, and MJF delivered a huge diving Macho Man elbow. It connected flush as flush could get to Jay White. Beautiful spot. The referee started to count. Both men made it back into the ring. The crowd was chanting, "He's our scumbag." We had a dragon screw in the ropes. White then hung MJF in the Tree of Woe. MJF was able to get out of it. Jay White and MJF then were up on the top rope. We had an avalanche Uranagi. Which looked absolutely nasty. Very close to count. MJF and Jay White then went back and forth. We had a released German suplex by White. Blade Runner was reversed. Roll-ups back and forth. MJF with a tombstone pile driver, but his leg gave out again. So the leg continued to play into factor. The leg was the entire story of the matchup. MJF, all of a sudden, he went for the heat seeker. He didn't get it. Jay White was dazed on the apron. MJF, like an absolute maniac, leaps over the top rope. MJF, like a maniac, leaps over the top rope and catches Jay White in a cutter, an RKO, off the apron to the floor, smashing into the mat. Absolutely insane. I don't think I've ever seen MJF do something like that. MJF, no regard for his physical well-being whatsoever. In a feat of adrenaline, a cutter off the apron to the floor. Crowd was chanting, "MJF, MJF." MJF tried to expose his knee, get some blood flowing back into his knee, but he couldn't stand. He then called Doc Samson over. MJF looked at Doc Samson and told him no. MJF was then locked into a figure four by Jay White. And in a throwback, this was a throwback, if you guys remember, and I was at this event. I was at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn 4 with the Undisputed Era versus Mustache Mountain, where we had Tyler Bate locked in an inverted figure four leg lock. Trent Seven had a towel, and he had a choice whether to throw in the towel or encourage Tyler Bate to come over and tag him. And in a fit of adrenaline, Adam Cole was like, "MJF, I can stop this. And Adam Cole, he almost looked like he wanted to throw in the towel. So MJF told him no. Adam Cole was battling with his emotions. MJF inevitably turned Jay White over, reversing the pressure. White was able to get to the ropes. White was draped over the ropes. He was going to, and Adam Cole had the Ring of Honor Tag Team title in his grasp. So White was draped over the ropes. Cole was contemplating hitting White with the championship, but Jay White came to. Jay White came to in time, took the championship from Adam Cole, and hit MJF right in the face with the championship. Crowd thought that was it. 1, 2, MJF kicked out yet again. Major crowd pop. The ref was then hit by Jay White. MJF then realized that it was time. Cole then brought out the ring, but Jay White took the ring instead. He put it on his finger. MJF with a low blow to Jay White. MJF then took the ring. Out came the guns. MJF then hit the guns with the Dynamite Diamond ring. MJF then dodged Jay White once again, hit the Dynamite Diamond ring punch. The ref came to. MJF covered 1, 2, 3, and MJF retains the AEW World Championship in a very, very nerve-wracking main event where we had a lot of great near falls, a lot of false finishes, and if anything, Jay White proved to everyone that he can perform at the highest level. Afterwards, Cole then came into the ring and rose MJF's hand as they celebrated that MJF is now 1 year strong as the AEW World Heavyweight Champion. Let me continue with the positives for now because I do have some things I want to say. The main event was excellent. The main event was excellent. Jay White and MJF, even after that Texas death match, they still managed to put on a very good main event. Great near falls. The injury angle, did it add a little bit more excitement? Did it add a little bit more oomph to the main event? I mean, I guess you could say it did. I guess you could say it did add a little bit more excitement to the main event. It added a little bit more intrigue to the main event. And it made the main event a little bit more unpredictable. It made the main event a little bit more unpredictable. But was it necessary? No. The answer is no. The whole ordeal actually came off a little stupid. Like, how is it that Adam Cole, he talked to Tony Khan, and he got the approval from Tony Khan to go out there in a walking boot on crutches after double ankle surgery to go and fight Jay White in MJF's place, and then MJF, he's coming on out, and there's about 30 guys trying to stop him. It made absolutely no sense. I mean, you want to talk about amateur, if you want to talk about being overbooked, that was overbooked. That was as overbooked as you can get. And considering that MJF retained, we did not see who the devil was. Wardlow didn't come out. Samoa Joe didn't come out. No one else came out to help MJF. It was only Adam Cole at ringside, and Adam Cole didn't really do anything to help MJF. We didn't see Roderick Strong. We didn't see the Kingdom. We didn't see Kyle O'Reilly. We saw no one. We saw no one except for Adam Cole. Adam Cole was the only new character that they added into the fray. Everyone else was pretty much long gone, and MJF was essentially fighting an uphill battle on his own, on one leg, against three other guys. So the entire thing, it ended up coming off unnecessary. The whole injury angle, it just wasn't needed. The injury angle with MJF, it came off unnecessary in the end because there was no devil reveal. Samoa Joe didn't show face, Wardlow didn't show face, and Adam Cole did not reveal that this whole injury angle is a work. The only reason, the only logical reason that I can honestly come up with as to why AEW felt that this was necessary is the fact that no one genuinely believed that Jay White was going to win the world championship. Not because he's not great, but because it's not his time. Everyone and their mother penned MJF in as the winner. Jay White was nothing more than an interim opponent for MJF. It just was not his time to win. So did it make the match a little bit more exciting and a little bit more unpredictable? Yes, there were a couple times where a lot of people thought Jay White was going to win the championship. But was it necessary in the grand scheme of things? No. And it came off a little silly considering Adam Cole's injury. But that's really the only reason that I can think of. That's literally the only reason that I can think of. No one genuinely believed that Jay White was going to win the world championship. But even then, even though no one believed that Jay White was going to beat MJF, that doesn't mean you needed to go this overbooked route and give us a Roman Reigns-esque championship match. Not to say that Roman Reigns puts on bad title matches, but I mean, if I wanted to see a completely overbooked mess of a championship match, exciting or not, I would go watch the main event of WrestleMania 39. I would go watch the main event of WrestleMania 39. I'll go watch Sami Zayn and Roman Reigns at Elimination Chamber. It was not necessary. I appreciate them trying something different. I appreciate them trying to generate a little bit more of intrigue and make the match a little bit more unpredictable. But sometimes you don't need to go the topsy-turvy route. You don't need to go the topsy-turvy route. You don't need to go the injured leg route. You don't need to go the constant interference spots and ref bumps. You don't need to go that route. Sometimes you just need to put two guys out there and just let them wrestle. That's all you need to do. Just put them out there. Just let them wrestle. Look at what Sky Blue, Julia Hart, and Chris Statlander did. Those three women didn't have any stipulations to their match. Those three women didn't have anyone interfering on their part. No body part was injured. The referee didn't go down. It was just three women going in there for 12 minutes and wrestling. And they ended up putting on an excellent TBS championship triple threat match. I don't really understand why they couldn't have allowed MJF and Jay White to do the same thing. Unless this is going to play into World's End. Because at the end of the day, at some point, MJF and everything that he's doing is going to end up catching up to him. MJF has easily had the best World Heavyweight Championship title reign in the history of AEW. MJF's title reign has been fantastic from start to finish. Everything about MJF's world title reign is exactly what you want in a World Heavyweight Championship title reign. It's fantastic. MJF is awesome at what he does. But when it comes down to it all, is it really necessary to go above and beyond and just overbook the shit out of his matches, even if it's just for one match? It wasn't needed. It wasn't necessary. And it came off very, very ridiculous by the end of it. Now, at the end of the night, did it take away from the match? No, it did not. Let's not misconstrued anything. Let's not kid ourselves. The match was great. The match was fantastic. Jay White is excellent. MJF is excellent. And let's put this narrative to bed too. Jay White is not buried. Jay White is not buried. If anything, you take a look at Jay White. MJF did not beat Jay White clean. He didn't beat Jay White clean. Jay White, he caught a low blow. He caught a dynamite diamond ring punch. And Jay White, turnabout was fair play with MJF. Jay White cheated against MJF. MJF cheated against Jay White. And on top of that, you could very well look at this as a scenario of Jay White. He underestimated MJF. He underestimated the entire scenario. He had a plan laid out, and it backfired on him. Now, the booking of the entire thing was ridiculous and completely not needed. But is Jay White buried? No, he's not. Is his momentum ruined? You can make that argument. Yes. You can make the argument that Jay White's momentum is ruined. Can he get it back? Absolutely. Just like LA Knight. I said that LA Knight was ruined. He is, but he can gain his momentum back. He can absolutely gain his momentum back. Does Jay White still feel the same? No, but it's the same thing with LA Knight. But they're not buried. If LA Knight lost to Roman Reigns in the same exact manner that every single other person lost to Roman Reigns, but people didn't say that he's buried, but you're saying that Jay White is buried. Meanwhile, this is Jay White's first pay-per-view loss. This is his first loss in AEW, period, number one. Number two, he went 30 minutes with MJF. 30 minutes in the main event of a pay-per-view, and you're claiming that he's buried. Now, if MJF won the match in 5 minutes, that would have been a different story. But he went 30 minutes with MJF. 30 minutes with MJF, one leg or not, MJF has been booked as strong as you can get. Look what MJF has done. He beat Bryan Danielson in the 1-hour Iron Man match. He successfully defended the title against the other three pillars. He beat Hiroshi Tanahashi. He succeeded against Adam Cole. He succeeded against Kenny Omega. He succeeded against Samoa Joe. Why exactly would you expect MJF to not look strong here? So, of course, Jay White was going to be fighting an uphill battle. That doesn't mean he's buried. You people need to learn what the word buried means. Tiffany Stratton, she was buried. She was buried. What has Tiffany Stratton done since her matches with Becky Lynch? Nothing. She's involved in the Iron Survivor Challenge, which I'm going to bet money that she will not win. Because why would she? Why does Tiffany Stratton need to win the Iron Survivor Challenge? And if she does win, she's not winning the NXT Women's Championship back. If anything, Tiffany Stratton's going to be called up to Monday Night Raw and or SmackDown probably after WrestleMania. Jay White is not buried. Do not kid yourself. The match itself, excellent wrestling match. The story was there. The injury angle definitely added a little bit more excitement and a little bit more unpredictability. I understand that AEW probably felt as though Jay White, he was all but confirmed to take the loss, and they wanted to make the match a little bit more unpredictable. I get it. I do get it. But in the end, really wasn't needed. And I really do hope that if they're going to do something along these lines, you better have a big payoff. You better have a big payoff, because if anything, the payoff seems like it's coming at World's End. Whether that be MJF losing the championship to Samoa Joe, to Wardlow, Swerve Strickland, or MJF retaining the championship and Adam Cole being revealed to be the devil. We'll have to wait and see what happens. But ladies and gentlemen, in the end, Full Gear, excellent show, fantastic show, a night of great professional wrestling, and it just goes to show you that when a pay-per-view comes around and Tony Khan is putting together a major show like this, you know that we are going to get an absolute banger of a show from top to bottom. Was it the best show of the year? I wouldn't say it was the best show of the year. I definitely put it in the top 5. But I would not say it was the best show of the year. I would probably put All In as the best show of the year. And then maybe I'll put Revolution and Forbidden Door right behind that. Maybe I'll put Full Gear as number 3. But in the end, very, very, very good show at the end of the night. And it was a very, very good night for pro wrestling as a whole. We have Dynamite to look forward to as we are now on the road to World's End. Ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up this edition of The Rewind. Just over 2 hours. I would like to thank each and every single one of you for tuning on in. You guys are fantastic. Please make sure, if you haven't already done so, like, comment, and subscribe. Check out all those links in the description. Please make sure you set your notifications for Tuesday for the rundown for Survivor Series with my man, Hoolagrim. Please make sure you set your notifications for Rumble and YouTube on Wednesday, where my vlog video from ISPW live in West Milford, their show was fantastic, and you'll get to see the highlights of the world title match between Danny Morrison and Crowbar, the tag team title match between the Now and All Purpose, GKM and Sean Donovan, and the debuting Marcus Mathers and Ray Calitri. Certainly something that I would highly encourage you to check out. You guys are great. Thank you very much. Be sure to check out all those links in the description, like I said, and be aware because December is going to be just as big of a month as November because we got NXT Deadline to go over, we got Ring of Honor Final Battle, and we got AEW World's End. We're going to close out 2023 on a high note, and I'm thinking about going to the Masters of Your Memories. I believe it's a con in the Rockaway Mall, the Masters of Your Memories con. Should be a fun time. RVD is going to be there. And the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase, he's going to be there. So if I happen to go there, maybe I'll do a live stream from my phone. I'll do a little live stream from my phone. I'll probably get a microphone for my phone. And we'll have a fun time over there. And if you guys are interested, come on out to the Rockaway Mall. And we'll all have a good time at Masters of Your Memories. Until then, I am DJ Storms. This has been The Rewind. But before we get out of here, ladies and gentlemen, you already know the drill. You got to tell me who runs the IWC. Let me take a sip of my ice water. I'll tell ya who runs the IWC. Who but DJ motherfucking Storms. And don't you ever forget it.
Cause we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want retribution. Oh yeah, we want